Pleased to be joined by Sam Holland here in studio, founder, CEO of No Destination. We've had him on the show. So glad to have him back here in studio with us. Great to see you. We haven't talked to you, I think, since right around when the summer started. Mm-hmm. What have you been up to the last few months?
Busy. This is my first time in Syracuse in the summer.
Is that right?
And our office is right up on campus. So the summer was awesome because students weren't here, and we kind of had the whole place to ourselves. And then kids got back and it got busy. Summer was good, though. We last spring, we started our first podcast. We did 17 episodes in like 2.5 months. Stopped it for the summer to focus on our business, which is doing social media for brands, athletes, businesses, different individuals. And that was kind of the focus this summer. And we kind of had this inkling of, hey, we want to start this podcast series back up, but we got to do something a little bit different. And so I'm excited now with football back, basketball coming soon. We got a project in the works that'll be coming out tomorrow that I'm really excited for.
What can you share with us?
Yeah, so we're starting a new
tease us here.
New podcast show. 3 hosts: myself, Eddie Lampkin, Elijah Moore, having guests on each week. We record Sunday, goes out Wednesday. It's cool for us because I've always had this vision of, we started our show of like having these player branded shows. So they reached out to me and said, hey, we want to do this podcast. I know Eddie super well. We've been talking about it for a while. And so I kind of put the ball in their court of, how do you want to brand it? What do you want to call it? Let's have this be your show and I'll help you build it. And so they came up with the name for it. It's called The Biggest Chop Up. Eddie is the biggest. Elijah Moore is Choppa. Social platforms, it's The Biggest with 3 G's and then Chop Up. CHOPPUP. So it's a long name, but it's going to be really good. I mean, we filmed the first episode Sunday. It's Elijah, Eddie, Kyle McCord. I think it's going to be a 45-minute episode. It'll be coming out tomorrow night. And we were just talking about this. I'm excited because I love this college media stuff that's starting to come out, and it's getting bigger like every single day, it seems like. I don't know if I've ever seen like basketball players and football players at the same school, like the best players at each school, talking with each other. And so I had a great time filming it. I'm really excited for everyone to like see it and hopefully enjoy it.
How can people find it?
Yeah, so we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter or X and TikTok, and username is The Biggest Chop Up. 3 G's in The Biggest.
All right, we look forward to this. You were telling us a little bit about it during the break. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. How often do you think you're going to film these? How often is this going to be?
Once a week. Yeah? I told the guys, you guys just got to show up Sunday and help me with guests, and we'll handle all the marketing, the production. We're working on sponsors right now. If anyone's listening to this and wants to help out some of our athletes and get in front of our audience, let me know. Little shameless plug because we're looking for that. But the goal is every single Sunday, we'll put one out every Wednesday, and I keep telling them, like, this thing will work as long as we're consistent. We got to do it every single week, and we just got to keep putting out content. And especially when the season starts for those guys, like, if we can continue to do it in season, I think it'll be a really big thing.
It's probably a good sign that 2 guys that are brand new to the program, and they've only been hanging out a couple weeks, are now like close enough that they want to do a podcast together, right? That's a pretty good sign for the camaraderie of the basketball team, right?
That's what I'll say about basketball is I've spent a lot of time with a lot of guys on the team. Last Friday, we were at their golf tournament. They all love each other. Like, there's a real culture going over there. Coach Autry's doing a great job. And it's cool to see all these new guys coming in that are like bonding right off the bat. And everything I've heard out of practice and all of that is that these guys are really hitting it off with each other.
Can you give us a sneak peek of anything we're going to learn tomorrow from Kyle McCord or the guys, Eddie and Elijah?
A couple of things. I mean, one thing Kyle said that was interesting is that he grew up watching Syracuse basketball, and he was a fan of Syracuse basketball at a really young age, which I had never heard before, and I didn't really know about him. That was cool. The other thing that was interesting from all 3 of them is they talked a little bit about, at least Eddie and Kyle, about like Syracuse versus their past schools. And one of the things that they agreed on was just that like they got here and everyone here wants to help them. Not necessarily on the court, but like what can they do outside of basketball? And I think you see that with like Eddie's got his own kitchen going on. Kyle's got the show going on here. Like, there's all sorts of things going on, and everyone is very eager to help them. And I think that's cool because I hope people see that and see like what Syracuse is and the people here. And that was the big thing they both said, is that the people at Syracuse is what makes it different.
And it does seem like, there could be some unique, I'm not saying unique necessarily to Syracuse, but some unique NIL opportunities that maybe we wouldn't have thought of 2, 3, 4 years ago to do something like this. As you said, you're looking for sponsors, and the guys can monetize something like this, and everybody benefits, right?
Exactly. Monetize it with sponsors. We want to do we did this pop-up shop in our studio 2 Fridays ago and sold out in like an hour and a half, and people loved it. And so we're working on some other things to do up on campus, some shirts we can sell, that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for it. And this basketball team, like, the guys are great. That's like my biggest takeaway so far, is just the players they've brought in all have a great mindset towards what they're doing on the court, but also just like the people they are off. I've just had great interactions with them all around.
Let's talk about this football team a little bit. And, there's a lot of excitement right now. I mean, there was a lot of excitement going in, and then we've seen 2 games, and they win both. They really dominated Georgia Tech, hung on at the end. But this team looks different. We've been saying that since Fran took over, that it feels different. What are your impressions of Fran Brown, of, Kyle McCord for that matter, because I know you've gotten to know him well, of this team? What is your expectation, I guess, of the season, the rest of the season?
It's funny you asked that, because I came on here, I think it was April or May, and I got to go find that tape, but I think I told you they were going to win 10 wins.
I think you did.
Win 10 games then. And I think it's showing. I mean, what I was talking to Kyle about, and like what I've seen, is that they've played well these last 2 games, but there's so much room for growth. Like, the way I'm looking at it, and he said this on the podcast we filmed, is like, they have so much they can get better at in all facets of the game. That is what excites me, because they're 2 games in. That Georgia Tech game should not have been as close as it was. At the same time, it's good to face a little bit of adversity like that and still win. So I'm really excited. Fran, I mean, what he's doing as far as just creating a different culture, like LeQuint not playing as much in the first half because they're saving him long-term for the rest of the season, like, that is a mentality that Syracuse, I don't think, has ever really had. So seeing that is cool, just to know that they're actively building for the bigger picture. So, I mean, expectations-wise, I'm right where I was then. Like, I look at the entire schedule, and people talk about Miami. UNLV is really good. Their quarterback, Matt Sluke, is a good friend of mine, and they've been killing it. So that game will be a good one. But people talk about that Miami one especially, and I'm just like, if we make it to that game and we're winning, like, it's hard to doubt us at that point. So I'm excited.
I know that you're very well connected with both the basketball team and the football team. Have you heard from the returning players, not the transfer portal guys, but the LeQuints and Marlows and Justin Barons, and can you speak to the previous coaching staff, and again, not to discredit what Dino did here, but just in terms of, you said, a new culture. Can you speak to how that culture is different from how the players view it?
It's hard for me to say because I'm not in the locker room, but from what I've heard is that, like, Fran just wants these guys to be themselves. And he sold them all on coming back. And I think a big piece of that sell was like, come here, I'm going to show you what you need to do to get to the league, and you're going to do it by being yourself. And I think for a lot of people, that's really special. I look at Kyle, for example. The biggest thing I've seen from him is that he just looks like he's free and having fun. Smiling, like the clickbait that went all over Twitter, like all that kind of stuff. Like, he's genuinely having a good time. And I think if you look back at his Ohio State career, not to say he wasn't having fun at moments, but I don't think he was free. And so I think a lot of these guys are here now. They're all bought into what Coach Fran is doing. And there's just an element of family. And for some of these guys, like, being free.
Did it come up in the show about how he ended up here? And we've all heard by now that, the day he entered the portal, Fran called him. He showed up at his door. He flew to Ohio and they met, and so on and so forth. Did he speak about how close he was to going to, like Nebraska, for instance, or other schools, or did he just focus on why he ended up here?
On the podcast, it was mostly about why he ended up here. I just know, regardless of Nebraska, him and Fran, they just have such a close bond. I mean, we've all heard the story of how his dad and Fran's wife, when Kyle was playing youth football, met, and Fran went to the games. But, like, it just runs deep. And what Kyle kind of said to me was, when him and Fran talked, like, Fran is very different from a lot of other college coaches, where he's not going to BS you. He's going to be very direct, and he's going to allow the players to be very direct with him. And I think a lot of guys appreciate that, because it cuts through a lot of the political stuff that typically happens in sports and athletic departments and all of that. And Fran, they've all said it a million times. It's like what he says he's going to do, he'll do. And all these guys, they just eat it up.
All right. Well, listen, I really look forward to checking out this new show. You're saying so you're going to film it every Sunday, and then you're going to release it. Is it going to be like Wednesday every week? It'll come out
7:30. We assembled a whole team of kids at Syracuse. We're looking for another video editor to help us out. So if anyone's listening to this from the university and wants to get involved, let me know. But we'll be filming Sunday, and we'll have them out Wednesday night at 7:30 every single week.
All right. Paul, you got anything else?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Sam, anything else you want to get across to our listeners?
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing, I think we got something really cool going on here where in our first series of podcasts, I was leading the conversations. And now the cool thing about the one we just filmed is I got to sit back and just let them talk. So if you guys want to see anyone and if you want to hear from anyone, any pairs, any athletes, any sports, really, let me know, because we're trying to create this environment with our podcast that's a little different from maybe the more traditional kind of Q&A conversational stuff. So if you have any athletes you want to see, anyone on campus, any guests, anything like that, let me know, because we just want to give you guys the best content that we can.
All right, Sam. Great stuff. I love what you're doing. Open invitation. Anytime you want to come on, we love having you on.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, Sam Holland, founder, CEO of No Destination. We'll take a time out here. We've got today's business coming up next. Jackson Roberts at 1:30. Back after this.